Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
October 1st class here.
Yes, inside this morning.
A little cool outside. A little chilly.
It's rabbit.
That's right. We are here hopping along.
The first day of October.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so hello, everyone. Hello, Andrea and Diane and Eleanor and Evelyn and Priscilla and Christina and Suzanne and
Susanna and Jeff
Sopat and Sandra and Naz and Catherine and
Robert and Suzanne
and Hopscotch. There we go. So Hopscotch is right here.
He doesn't like to miss a class.
No, he doesn't.
That's right.
So here we are at the Alchemical Rede class.
Yes, it is. And I'll start out with the Alchemical Mind.
Thank you. Very much.
Kind of get us going.
Excellente.
We're going to take a walk after class, so we want to get our energy up.
Yes.
The Alchemical Mind, Fire, Seed of Fire, Resolve. And the pattern is from the omnidirectional deck. It's the Healing Light pattern number 14. It's a vibrational imprint of the harmonical pattern that evaluates and reconstructs a holographic projection into the third dimension reality as seen, so that it can be known and felt omnidirectionally. How to reconstruct patterns. That's the pattern that's going to help with the alchemy of today. Fire, Seed of Fire, Resolve. In the human sphere, fireless is burning passion and aspiration for illumination. Love is the phoenix kind and burns itself with self-made fire to breed still new birds in the mind from ashes of desire. Folk Grayville, the phoenix kind. This is a writing from him, but this is part of the Alchemical Mind by Dr. John Mumford. Resolve, as a noun, means decisiveness and determination. If the embers are dying, you need to resolve to stoke the fire of enthusiasm. Only by enthusiasm and resolve can a solution be reached. Resolve, dancing as a verb, allows you to solve the problem. Dr. John Mumford, Magical Tatwas. Slept well, and dreams very close when I woke, like it's a floating world. Much must be moving for resolve to come up twice in the same week.
Yeah.
Today is our class, and I am looking forward to its insights, which feeds us all for the next week, and even more when it comes around for the second time. Playing Christmas music just to levitate things on this day. Music creates for me a whole I-ness in my world of fire and enthusiasm. I rest with music and create all day with its assistance in entering many realms. My son Tom always loved music like Beethoven, Bach, and heavy metal, all pattern breakers, and he definitely is one in my life and his world. He has finally realized it is true. As he has grown into a father and man, I have found him so often there for me, breaking patterns so I can survive as who I am. The diversity of our children is such a gift. If you are creative, you will never be completely crazy to all of them at the same time.
That's so good.
Grateful I am for one daughter and 4 sons. Resolve always comes into my life as we all create in this human sphere. Listening for the forgotten words of the gracious life of love. Raven Suzanne.
Thank you,
Beautiful.
Thank you.
That really inspires people to probably want to have more children so that, eventually spread it out. At least one of them isn't going to think you're crazy.
That's right. I guess you're going to have that many, get some diversity.
So funny.
Actually, having that many makes you a little crazy anyway. So I did post a posting of that I love, one of my favorite pictures of me and the boys when I had Valley Hill. And I put on there my lovely sons so intense and creative, all in different and wonderful ways. And it was fun to share the picture, but also see it again for myself. It's actually when I had Valley Hill, and I dressed in a very different way than before I had Valley Hill. Okay.
That's a beautiful picture of you, too.
Oh, thank you. I love it.
I'm sure you look at that picture and wonder how the heck were you running a business and raising that many children and doing it all?
I know. I think I just sat in it, and then I never got up, and I never looked back. And
so if you ever need to take a nap now,
yeah,
just know you're very well deserved.
That's right. It's very well deserved.
Those kind of pictures help remind you of, oh yeah.
I look like a little kid in that picture myself. It's really definitely too little to have 5 children and 4 of them be boys. I'm going to read you the poems that thread out. Whoops, this Alchemical Mind today. So it's really fun. Robert and I laughed a lot this morning when I was reading them to him. Nick, Nick, Nick. Little trucks, cars, cowboys, all part of my past life of the farm. Relegated to motherhood only, and I began to mix it up. I began to mix it up. I made his head spin off, and roll out my ex. How many angles can an angel impart? They called me genius, odd, out of touch with my duties. How many duties have you dropped off at the mailbox and sent home? I know it is not any Christmas chimney flue. I was ready for the North Pole after I had fought for the ticket for years. Open it all up, and jump in and mail yourself to the North Pole. I slept most of my way so I could be well rested and so. With the nick-nick of the quick feet moving wings upward, poking fun at all the little people that I am so part of. Red sleigh. I'll be driving and sparing no cocoa for each stop to present my past.
Oh,
I love that.
that is
To
cool.
present your past. Right, so good.
Yeah. And I love the part where it said, you're relegated to motherhood. And again, to mix it up. And I love the part of, have you, to mail yourself. How many duties have you dropped off at the mailbox and sent home? We grow up, and especially, well, both girls and boys, really. And we grow up with all these duties, and they're different according to what number we were in the lineup. And if you were in a lineup and you were number 1 of a fairly good sized lineup, you have many duties. And later in your life, you finally realize that there's just too many duties, or at least I did. And I love that part about it. Have you mailed your duties home? Because that's what you should do.
Yep.
I think that's what we all should do, is mail all our duties home. Our parents won't care, because most of them aren't here or there. So that's pretty cool.
Yep.
Then the poem that I wrote in the Little Red Book of Love, I kind of keep you all, because it's also the running nature of a deep connection in life with someone else or yourself. Swallow slowly. Well, you always know you're first heard. You always know you first heard it here first. I was first, even before you knew what was first. You heard me many, many, many eons ago. We know, we waited, we called, we heard. So welcome we are to each other. You cannot interrupt anything in my life because I have already interrupted yours. You said yes every time. I swallow slowly and take breath larger than I ever have before. A fly could just walk into my open mouth of wonder of the sorts of you. All is sorted out by now, and we have decided it is all ours. I know. They all mind, but that is why we left. Now they have to kick sand into their own eyes.
Wow.
Well,
Yeah. So today is kind of a past, like a memory of patterns being broken and breaking patterns, and being a pattern breaker and having pattern breakers in your life, and the gifts they are, and that they help you get through. And it's also about all the duties that are placed on us that are inappropriate, and we carry them all our lives. And then, never thinking that we could mail them back home.
yeah.
But we should.
Yeah.
And I just love the whole connection with Santa Claus and the tapping on the roof and the angels. How many angles can they make to help us? And so I really love these two pieces today with the Alchemical Mind. They're real. They're a real gift to me, and I hope to all of you all.
They are.
We also put on today, I thought it was cool, close-ups of, we've been working with the whole concept of dreams, and what are they, how do we remember them, how do we honor them, how do we listen, and how do we remember them. And we've been working with this for quite a few weeks, and everyone, all of us have worked with either writing your dreams or drawing your dreams. And then we've worked with the potency of creating a sandbox to actually open up windows and doors to the dream symbology and the messages in your dreams. And so we put on some pictures because our dream box actually came from a wonderful assortment of Egyptian iconery that we had. We have the beautiful pieces from you, Andrea, the Hathor and Bastet. Oh God! And then I have the beautiful Susan Bolet. Bolet, is that how you say it? Her wonderful goddess artwork, and she did one of Bastet that it's in a deck, and actually I framed it, and it's really neat. And then also the Hathor from Egypt that Andrea bought me, and the Bastet are all part of this dreamy memory. And it's been wonderful. We have made a whole 2-level dream box, and so in the morning when I come in to write in our studio, it's really the top of the art cart. It's so funny. But I usually draw my dream right away, and then after I've drawn it, then I turn and work in the sandbox and just move pieces around. And then I found this fabulous I Ching. I got it at the Goodwill. I had to. It's a round box with these sticks with red on the ends, and then they have these messages of which are just awesome. And so I've been putting them in. There's a sandbox, and then the like temple where all the characters and figures stay until they go into the sandbox and get on the boat of Ra. And so you'll see a long box there in front that is the boat of Ra. And so you can see them on our website today, October 1st. So I think you'll love them. I've just loved it. And it's the fun of instead of thinking and thinking and thinking over dreams and wearing your brain out, is allow the dream to come to you. Give it a language that speaks to you in symbols and art and drawing. That if you have to connect everything with your mind, and in that story level, you get stuck there, and then you never get to the basic message of the dream in itself. So we move pieces in, and then we just let it be, and it just sits there all day, and it's really fun. It's a really fun process. We always need in our practice a little play. If our practice is just so serious that there is no room for a little play, then we have actually lost its potency.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
That's a good point.
So you all can go online and see those. They're on the. But actually, we'll be putting
Instagram,
them on
right? Our Instagram.
We will be putting them on our site, because we're going to have a whole page on dream and dream play.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so this week maybe we'll be able to get all that on. We're still working on the wonderful site, Feeding the Creative Child. It's we had gotten actually one of these sticks. It was to keep the secret a month, and I think that's what it was talking about. And I think what we're doing right now is we're building it, so it's a lot of work. I have to, out of thousands, maybe 70,000 pictures, I got to go through them all, and I picked out 4 albums, each 1,000. And then after I get those 4,000 for this website, Feeding, they are fabulous. They cover 30 years, really. And then we start breaking them down to categories. So then I'll do other albums where what I've got in the 4,000 I'll break down. And then we'll start building through pictures the website. And the books of Susanna's World. We're going to have also Lemniscott for children. And so Suzanne and Christina have worked really hard to create music to go with the Lemniscott to make it very fun. And a lot of the wonderful music that she's written around sound, and they're putting that together in a sequence that supports the Lemniscott walk, which is really a repetitive walk that children always love.
Yeah, it's a figure 8 meditative walk.
Yeah, but it'll be with the Dreamtime animals, so it'll be really fun. And we're going to be having not only the books on there, but other levels of the Feeding the Creative Child that we have worked with that I think will be really wonderful. So excited about that. It's the first time we've gone out with it, and in that kind of way. And then we just finished, very excited about, we've just finished what number is it? 8th? 7th book of the Traveler series. And this one's called The Leviathan, and it's a what do you call that?
Trade book?
It's a trade book, but it's when you gather and put them together.
It's a compilation.
It's not a copulation. I knew it wasn't that. Although that might have happened.
We do know that sex sells, but
Yeah. But it's would you please say the word?
Compilation.
Compilation of a year's work of stories of every week. And it's really, really very, it speaks to this time, really, in a fabulous way. So we just published that, and we have the others published, and we haven't put them up into the thing yet, and I do not know why, because I know it's not, we're late, but it always amazes me when things finally drop in and when they don't. It's always just right, and later I understand it. But also I've completed the yoga book, and we have not put that up yet, but hopefully those things. But you can, if you want to get either books or see them or get the ebook of the Traveler series, there's 7 now, and then there's the yoga book, and then a book of poetry that we've done over this last 6 months. You can go to where?
Excuse me. Pardon me.
Where can you go to see them?
To see the the new books.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to get them on our website this weekend. But for now, you'd go to Blurb Books and then you type in Clarity Artists, and then they'll
They will
come
come
up.
up.
Yeah.
Okay. They're trade books, and that means they're a little bit less expensive than the other books that we used to do. They're much bigger, they're taller, and the photography is really fabulous. It's much bigger, and they're a lot of words on every page, and it's really stunning. I think you'll love it, and easy to read. Same format, and except that the book is different, the size. Okay. Now, was there anything else we wanted to, or a little bit later, Christine is going to read one of the Traveler Series books that applies right now, and Suzanne has drawn a Kuan Yin, so won't we do that?
Sure. The Kuan Yin for today is number 37. Placing spirit into its real persona, one finds that the body is expressing it well. Listen to your body. Your spirit has much to say. Open wide.
Wow.
Yeah.
That has really been this week.
Uh-huh.
Robert and I both have been down, having really large energy shifts, and I've had some really big Kundalini rises, and it just is. Those times are pretty phenomenal about what comes out of them, but they're also very phenomenal about how uncomfortable they are.
Yeah.
And you just have to finally just, here it is, and just lay down into it, because there's nothing else to do. I've tried all the other things that one can do to recover faster, quicker, more efficiently, and it doesn't seem to be applicable.
Nothing like surrendering.
Yeah, there's nothing like surrender to do the trick. That's so true. Well, actually, we've had somebody new start coming to the class from the webs.
On the website? Cool.
Yeah. Robert can say they're from, but it's nice to have someone come back, and hopefully they enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to start. We don't have a name, and that's always a trick, but we'll have a name by the end of the class. Yeah. So I'll start. Introduction. To be content as content is to require no previous correction. All is and is and is. I do believe that talks about this week profoundly.
Yeah.
To be content. To be content as content, because that's what you are when you're going through the Kundalini. You have to become content as content, because that's all that's going to happen. And that you don't require any previous correction is very important. And it is, and there's nothing, you surrender to it, so that really speaks well.
Uh-huh.
The silence sealed the room, and the utter brilliance of light timed itself for the now potency. The open nature became part of the sound of each day. The upper relationship is established, and the intention is secured. Life upon life examines the volume of what is needed for balance. Somehow that was really interesting. I had like a upper and lower Egypt kind of flashback in that.
Oh, cool. The upper relationship. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. There is much now that has not yet given space and time to the alternative. The realization is formed, and what is here is there. The intention is fueled by the force of will that can consume great stretches of speed. The singular sound of made is inside of the position fold of knowing.
I like that.
That really feels good.
It does to me too.
The felt is pressed into place, and once it has completed its crease, each commitment is squared, and the perspective shift allows the vision to become exact than ever before, I love this part here because it's really speaks to the whole feeling level this time, that the felt is pressed into place once it's completed its crease. And so we're like corrugating and we're bringing the distance close to us. And so we're feeling what the distance feels like too, as it's being creased and then brought forward. Each commitment is squared. So after it's creased, folded and creased, that commitment is squared and the perspective shifts. Allow the vision to become exact than ever before. What is now here is now there. And that's a huge thing. We say that, you hear people say, but what is now here is now there. When you do a corrugation of the distance, when you take the distance and you start folding it and creasing it, and folding and increasing it and corrugating it, that's what you're doing. You're taking what was there and making it here, and what's here there. So you don't take it away from where it was, but you bring it close to you, so it's here and there. Place is the coordinator of what is shared easily. So what that does is it creates place, because what you need here is then shared easily as it's creased and crossed and corrugated. Then that becomes here, and then in here is it actually expands place. The sequence of what gives is spoken, and the nature is made ready. And that's always interesting when you talk about the sequence of what gives. Everything has its sequence, and when it's corrugated, it follows its sequence. So it doesn't take it out of sequence. So then you can actually hear it. It has a voice, and it's ready to speak. So when you corrugate, you are not taking anything out of sequence. It is remaining in sequence. When the wholeness seeks its signal, all moves into a positional response that will allow more than less. The central focus is made more clearly seen, and the acceptance moves through. When the threaded becomes more current, the direction can be felt more easily. Now that's got a lot in there because of the wholeness seeks its signal, and then it then moves into a response to the signal, and then the central focus is then able to be seen more clearly, and then the threaded begins and it becomes more current. The threading is happening, and then the direction can be felt more easily. And I think sometimes that when I'm going through a Kundalini rise, I think very much I am being corrugated. That is why the consciousness shifts with the Kundalini. As it rises, it brings what's below up to the above. It corrugates it all the way up, and then it takes what's up above and corrugates it back down to the below. And that's the exchange between the above and the below. And during that Kundalini, you feel threaded, almost like you can feel the needle moving through you. And that creates the feeling of the direction and the distance. And so you've got to be able to feel it. It's not something that passes unfelt. It's not one of your autonomic nervous system responses. It's actually it's the challenge of that rise, and that you do feel it. That you do feel it passing through, and you do feel it threading through, and you feel it locking in, increasing. And once you understand it, it makes it easier to be more okay with it and to surrender to it. Yeah. Do you want to read, Robert?
Initially, the motionary volume would handle most sequential modes, but it has shifted times 3. The sacred is intentional, and the full solutionary volume is quickened throughout life and its livingness. The
At
formational.
any point you want to unload, unpack,
Okay.
go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. The formational has become more realized, and the acceptance is more wholly seen and fully motioned.
So as our realization rises,
Mm-hmm. I love that. The motionary volume.
then more acceptance happens.
Mm-hmm. The full corner of reason is squared into a much stronger volume of intent. Much follows the other, and we can begin to sit even deeper into our actualization. The center of the squared reference is given more space, and the ethos surrounds the volumes of need.
I love that about the full corner of reason, because when you get into when things are, whatever's in the corner,
Uh-huh.
is where everything's happening. That's where the speed accelerates and spins.
Mm-hmm.
So a full corner of reason. So reason is spinning,
Mm-hmm.
and it's being squared for a much greater volume of intent. So you're really trying to become more aware of intent
Mm-hmm.
and be one with it, which gives you a great amount of potency.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Uh-huh.
I just kept seeing where that corner is, and then thinking of all the other various angles. So those angles create an increase in speed.
Mm-hmm.
So since all the geometric solids are filled with angles,
Uh-huh.
each of those angles
I love
speeds,
that.
speeds up, and that's where. And depending on the shape is dependent on the speed.
But also you realize the word angle and
Mhm.
angel
And
are constantly.
That was what I was thinking
and
of too.
the angels, archangels, are beings that arc
Mm-hmm.
into a very deep angle,
Mm-hmm.
90 degree, is it?
Mm-hmm.
And so the deeper the arcing, the bigger the corner and the greater the
Mhm.
acceleration.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's seen as an archangel is a being that can arc so deeply. They're the ones that can arc the most.
Mm-hmm.
That really then they can create a corner, an angle that will create the greatest speed.
Yeah.
Because the deeper the arc, the more resonant the corner, and it's working with a corner of reason. So the more resonant the reason, and it makes a much stronger volume for the intent. And those arcing angle beings are considered so powerful, and that power is in their ability to arc.
Yeah.
To arc into, to be penetrated by the divine.
Mm-hmm. So that's what I think that angel and angle are almost interchangeable.
They are.
They really are interchangeable.
I love that. And you brought that out with the part about
Mhm.
the corner. And I
Mhm.
realized then, we have a whole acceleration,
Mm-hmm.
an arc angle acceleration going on
Mm-hmm.
in the corners
Yeah.
right now.
Mhm.
No wonder it's a little, truly, yes.
The carrying space is open for the channel of rhythm, and the full square is met in all directions of speed. There is much now that is settled into place that could not be before with ease. The ease is key, and the motion is counted as a way of intentional ease. Ease of love, ease of caring, ease of beginning, ease of motionary volume.
Okay.
When ease is what is needed, all else changes. Much is not built from dis-ease, but from joy of movement, from the ease of channel. To take energy and channel it through your body with ease, new equations are born. This is the time of new equations, where old equations are no longer channeled through the frame, and one must sit in a new equation waited for, and it is ease. To lay into and float through with an acceptance that embraces instead of resists. To now approach with no resistance to ease, love, compassion, and acceptance.
What is that saying that people say they're like,
Huh?
it's like easy, they're like floating on water? That's a expression. Can't think of it.
It's not coming to me either.
But it's like when you come to something finally and you're no longer resisting it,
Mm-hmm.
you're like ease.
Uh-huh.
You are ease.
Wow.
I think that's what I've found is, and I've talked to you all about, is a change in the body
Mm-hmm.
from all of this, from all that we're
From-
getting. Is it by letting go of resistance? The
Mhm.
body's really open to everything new and expanding, and love, passion, acceptance. It's
Mhm.
all right there if you just let go of the pressures in the body or what you thought you had to be.
Mm.
That's part of that mailing all your duties home.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mail your duties home. I love that.
Thank you. That, yeah.
The real factor exposes itself to time and is freely knotted into animation, the animation of life rather than death. All is taken
Now,
in
I love that,
Mhm.
the animation of
of life rather than death. Yeah.
And that is the turn. That is the switch
Mm-hmm.
that the world is trying to birth into.
Mm-hmm.
It's having a little problems, but it's
Yeah.
it's so used to animating death
Mm-hmm.
that it's really a big turnaround to start trying to animate life. And so a lot of the little duties that we haven't mailed home, we're in the time where we're being forced to mail them home.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, we had a whole time where nobody could go home. You know, you could go to your home, but you couldn't go back to your home of your childhood. And part of that is like, it's like if something was guiding you, and you were blindfolded, or it was guiding you out of all your duties and all those things, that person would kind of corral you into or herd you
Mm-hmm.
into a life where you animate life instead of death. And at first, you're so used to animating death that you can't even find when you're animating death.
Yeah.
And so it's like having something that kind of swaddles you and guides you through this to keep you from animating death. And so you get ready to turn this way, but the whole wave of it turns you in the other direction
Mm-hmm.
because, and it's like a whole world, a whole planet, a whole galaxy right now is inside that wave, that they are being absolutely almost forbidden to animate death as a part of life anymore. And so so a lot of us are kind of thrown off, and we're kind of upset, and we're kind of mad, and we're kind of angry because animating death is much easier
Mm-hmm.
than animating life. And so they don't want to have to be consciously animating life. And during this time, we've had to consciously animate our lives. We've had to notice what we do. We have to notice who we're around, where we go, what we breathe. We've had to notice how we think. We've had to notice how we take care of ourselves and work with love. And we've done that, like on automatic for so long that we're really irritated with this kind of help. We're really irritated that it slowed our lives down. It made us really look at ourselves. It made us really look at our relationships. It made us really look at our children. It's made us really look at what we are feeding ourselves in not only food, but in relationships, in what we do as work, what we do as play.
Mm-hmm.
So we are completely, it was the other day, it reminds me of it was a picture on Facebook or one of them, and it was a really big turtle, and he got turned upside down. And turtles just usually can get themselves right back up when they're upside down. A lot of them die because of the lack of help. But beside the big turtle was a smaller turtle of a similar type that turtle went all the way or circumnavigated around the other turtle. And then all at once, he came at the other turtle head on and pushed the other turtle over. That's kind of like what's happening to us.
Mhm.
Our world is that big turtle turned
Yeah.
upside down.
Yeah.
And if something doesn't help him turn right side up, we're going to die. And since we're such a wonderful, wonderful potential, it's like, and there's been a lot of blocks to that potential. It's like, that's not fair. We need some arcing angles in here to help us, and the little turtle is that. He can arc the angle at a certain way, and he was able to push the big turtle up in the air and over. That's kind
That
of
was
weedy.
amazing.
So,
The animation of life.
all taken in like a gentle persuasion that does not convey a loss of intent. Our content is of many worlds, many times, many places and senses. We are natured by the different fronts, and this, we're missing something. And this is what our diversity comes from. One nature is crossed with another throughout time and each span of need. The coming forward within this time does have a clear rhythm and pattern under the confusion. The mystery is not clearly seen, and this makes the confusion have purpose. To clear away the old requires some confusion, but the patterns will lead all through.
That's wonderful.
Does anybody have
That's good to
anything
hear.
to speak about before we go on at this level?
I would just say, just to confirm that, I mean, my experience has been as moving through all of this and paying more attention, becoming more awake, and the confusion that comes with that, the irritation, the frustration that you mentioned, all of that comes up, but using the imprinting, you can't really think your way through it. You can't
right.
figure it out. You can't analyze yourself to death. You can try, but it just makes it worse. But I've been I've really been relieved and grateful for the imprintio patterns, because like you said here, the patterns will
Absolutely.
lead all through. And a lot of times all you can do, I just give it a pattern, whatever is up that I just can't seem to move or resolve, and I just intuitively pick one of the patterns and ask it to help me. And I don't know when exactly it happens or how it happens, but all of a sudden I feel better, and it's what seemed unresolvable is just dissolved, and then
We're not spending our time spinning our wheels trying to work it out, and
and analyze
know,
it to death and all of
we
that.
can
The
just
pattern
let go. And
it's really helping that
And it
process.
starts lifting the load.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is true magic, a real miracle of how that can do that.
Mm-hmm.
That
let
is,
the arch angles be able to help.
yes, and you can break it down in the sense that, like I take right now above our bed over on the side, I have the omnidirectional deck on a little ring, and I have the patterns copied, and I just stay with that deck, and I pick one when I wake up in the morning and lots of times before I go to bed, and it seems to exactly match up with what I'm needing and where I am, and I'm really feeling how that clears the way for me. And I know that we've worked with them for a long time, but it's like you work with it in different levels, and how you can make it available to yourself. And now that the decks are all available on the website, and all 10 decks with all their 700 or 800 patterns, and the words, which is part of the pattern, are there with them. And if you're really wanting to play with this and do this, then go to the site and where the patterns are and pick out, 10, 15 patterns of that you like, that you feel are personal to you right now. And they can be out of one deck or all the decks, but pick them out and then take a photograph of them. And both the words and the picture are there as a unit. So you take a photograph, and then it's on your iPad, and you put those photographs in one of your albums. Make an album of these where you can go to them. And so what you'll eventually have is you may start with 10 or 15, and you put them in that album, and then very easily on your phone or whatever, you can go to that album and pick one. And you can pick it up in the morning. It's easy access. And you've already chosen them, and so it's very, very personal to you. Then you can also, maybe in another week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you go to the website again, you pick out 15 more, you photograph them, you put them on your album for healing or whatever patterns, and then you've got maybe 30, and then you can pick from them. And so you have easy access of patterns that you've picked out because you know your future and your past and your present. And although all of them apply if you pick, as they come. And then you have this album. If you ever want to print them, you go to the thing, you get them printed, and then you take a laminator and you laminate them. And you can put them on a ring like I did. But in addition to that, you can just have them on the album. That's about the simplest, fastest. Have it on your phone. Just go over there and look at it in the morning. And if you need, more. And you're really working with your own future, with your own future sight.
That's
You're
beautiful.
working
That's
with
a
your
great
own,
idea.
your own higher self. It helps you pick them out.
I love that.
So that's simple.
And if there's anybody that's not as familiar with the site yet, it's under the tab Mycelial Light Imprintable Patterns, I believe, is where you'll find all of the different decks.
That's
that
really
you can pull from.
Now,
it's beautiful.
A few years ago, that one, it wasn't possible. And it wasn't until last year we got it all on. It's a very huge endeavor. But now it's there, and isn't that just awesome miracle?
It is awesome.
And it's really needed in these times right now. If you want to come out of the confusion, if you want to be able to turn things that are upside down right side up, do this for yourself. It's time well spent. The timing is exact, and the placement of place is clearly felt. The third row down as one fall. The third row. Am I reading that right? Down, as one falls down the rabbit hole, there is a shelf of a tea party. Rest and reset. Take time to refresh and allow more purpose to gather. And that's part of the consciousness of this time. It's like when I talked about going there and copying them and bringing, that takes a little time. But then on the daily thing, it's available all the time. But it's part of putting things right side up in this time. You're going to have to give time to it. So the third row down is one falls down the rabbit hole. There's a shelf, a tea party, rest and reset. Take time to refresh and allow more purpose to gather. We're not taking the time to do this. And because we're not, we don't have enough purpose to see our way. The needed frame will be able to contour itself for safety, rest, and ease. Much more is available than ever before that will actually create an alchemical position. To create and build, to apply and see, to make ready and become all parts of the field of need. There is much love in this motion of emotion, and the central figure of position is now capable.
Mm-hmm.
So we are now capable of doing this. We're not in this time because we are incapable. We are capable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Robert.
Each and every being of this time has had an alignment of intention with their soul consciousness. There are many levels of the time centering. Now
And
that,
these are also includes
excuse me.
the ones that people say are untransmutable,
Mm-hmm.
and that people say that you can't, go beyond. That's a lie.
Mm-hmm.
And it may be an intentional lie or just a lie of ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
But every being of this time has had an alignment of intention with their own soul consciousness, not someone else's, not other beings or other worlds, of their own soul consciousness.
I'm going to put that in there too.
That's so cool.
There.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
There are many levels of the time centering. So, the time that it takes to center yourself are many levels. The time of centering yourself in the now moment,
Mm-hmm.
in the past, in the future, all day long as you take on new tasks. There are many levels where you have to center yourself, and that is part of the consciousness that's now coming to be available to all of us. Okay. Now that the intention has become more resonant on more levels, change is much more possible.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that fabulous?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
To
So
bring-
as
Can you
we
read that
increase the
line?
intention,
Oh,
now that the intention has become more resonant on more levels, change is much more possible. And so we are talking about this time that intention has been shifting, and
Mhm.
it is now more resonant on more levels, and it will create the possibility of change on many more levels than ever before. Okay, honey.
Yeah, that alignment of intention I was getting ready to say is the alignment of intention and intention being more resonant is the key of ease, which is, I just saw it in this next paragraph. The conference of what holds and what's let go and what lets go is engaged for ease and clarity. Clarity creates ease because all the channels are connected. The central purpose is a formidable equation that now unfolds. Just centering in the sight, the volume of vision increases for the exchange of numbers.
And it's interesting to me. I have talk about the sight and things being centered in an alignment and the
Mhm.
change in the volume of vision. I have had more friends than I ever had before. Of course, we're all older,
Mm-hmm.
that are having their sight changed,
Mm-hmm.
that are having cataracts removed, or are having other kinds of eye problems being worked on and fixed. And so there's a real consciousness right now, probably more than it's ever been in time, to center in the sight. And we have more available for doing this than we've ever had, as far as
Mm-hmm.
the ease of doing a cataract surgery, or the ease of doing a retinal surgery.
Mm-hmm.
That the equipment and everything that's available is really part of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
It's a part of consciousness that has made itself more available to center our sight and to create an ease of the volume of vision that is actually increasing in numbers.
Love that.
Mm-hmm.
What was once will become twice, and the told will be more understood. The center of awareness becomes initiated and utilized. All the fibers that relate now are given to be. The full nature of existence strengthens its witness. The sight takes on many new senses and signals.
I love that about the whole idea of the witness,
Mm-hmm.
that it's the nature of the witness is strengthening.
I love that. The sight
Yeah.
takes on many new senses and signals with that strengthened witness.
Yeah, how do y'all feel about
That's
that?
incredible, actually.
Mm-hmm. I like how the center of awareness is like the center of your sight. becomes initiated and utilized. It's like it's being activated more.
Mhm. Symbols unite and support, and the truth of understanding so softly can be felt. Time and place take on a whole new perspective, and this strengthens life as seen from above and below. Looking down into the prisms, there is a gesture of agreement, and the purpose is felt strongly through intent. We had a big conversation this week about symbols and how important uh, symbology is, so that when our symbols match, I might have talked about it a little bit last week, when our symbols actually match, then there is the ability to come into conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And that people who have their symbols match is the most important thing. They don't have to think the same thing, but their symbols match. And I thought that we talked about it'd be kind of cool for you to maybe take cardstock or something and take maybe 10 or more, put down on the cardstock symbols that are some of your symbols,
Mm-hmm.
and that mean something to you, and then create that as an oracle for yourself to be in conversation with your own symbology.
We tried that
We have
this
been
week.
doing it. It's
and
really been powerful.
It really was a potent way of really connecting and uniting the
Can you-
symbols.
Can you share with the class what you actually did to do that?
Sure. So we got some colored cardstock and we cut it into like little triangle shapes, and then we took markers and wrote down symbols that were really specific to that
That
we
we
kind of
resonated
resonated
with.
with.
Uh-huh.
And we probably did about like 10 symbols a piece, just for starters, and then we actually put it in our dream sand
sandbox.
play
Yeah.
sandbox.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so then if new symbols come, we'll draw them out and then put them in there, and then when we're done with that, I think we're gonna poke holes in each one and then put it in a ring.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And then we'll be able to use that at another level, like an oracle to ourselves and in other ways. But it's actually been really powerful.
oh,
It's
I'm
been-
so
I've
glad.
And
found
it's been
it-
a great suggestion, so thank
Yeah,
you.
I have found it really helpful in, coming in from a dream that you don't really understand and don't want to go into the narrative of that, what the dream,
story
the story
of
of
it.
the dream, but know what you were, to actually find out what was I doing in my dream work. And so whatever symbol I feel drawn to that morning, or symbols, a lot of times I'll pick 2 or 3 and put it in the sandbox for the sand play for the dream, and then let it start speaking to me, or give it, it is really an oracling, because then all of a sudden it's like,
And you're making
oh,
room for the conversation with it.
yeah, I'm saying,
Mhm.
okay, if this symbol came out of my dream work, then I wonder what it's telling me, because this is what this symbol usually means to me, or
Mm-hmm.
then I let it start talking, and then say, oh, well, that was what I was doing, or that was the message it was giving me, or that I was working with. So it's been really powerful,
Mm.
very helpful too, in
That's
getting
nice to
that
hear.
insight when you feel just kind of blank about what you were doing all
Yeah.
night, and
Mhm.
Yes, yes.
And when I've been drawing my dreams, there's been a couple of symbols that always come to me,
Uh-huh.
and I really am drawn to them. I really have kind of been inquisitive about it, like, what are these things, And so
Mhm.
it's a really cool way of discovering more about, what that is.
And who you are.
And who I am, and
Oh, I love
and
that.
being in the mystery about it too,
Oh,
so.
I love
So
that.
thank you, and
Thank
I
you.
mean, it's been a really fun way to.
I think everybody, I'm sure in this class, have enjoyed hearing you all talk about it.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
used a lot of scrap
yeah, it
card-
didn't take long at all. We just took
cardstock
a
that we've been
marker and
saving, and then also new stuff. So it was a
Mhm.
nice way to reuse and
Mhm.
recycle and
Mm-hmm.
And we
get
did
a lot
it
of
in the
different colors.
yeah.
Delicious color paper, So
Mhm.
we used colors that really we resonated with too, and so it's really it's really
And
added
we
a
just
lot.
kind of intuitively thought to do it in triangle. Well, Christina actually thought of it to do it in triangle
'Cause it sticks
shape
in the
because
sand
you can
really
stick
well.
it down in the
Oh,
sand.
yes.
And it'll stay, you know. But and
Like
also
the
then
pyramid
there's
it
the speed
should.
of the pyramidal energy.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So we thought that potentized whatever that symbol
Oh,
was too.
yes. Oh,
Thank
that
you
is
for-
wonderful.
Thank you for the suggestion.
Mhm.
Yeah. And Sandra, have you been able to try that?
Well, mine haven't been exactly the same. Found this little bitty notepad that somebody gave me that's only like an inch and a half by an inch and a half.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
And so I've been using that more for words or things that I've heard after I wake up.
Oh,
And
nice.
putting those on those little tiny things.
Mhm.
And then I put them in my little sandbox.
Uh-huh.
But I also have a
Does it
jar.
stick
and I
to
haven't
the
started
sand
filling
very
yet.
good?
I haven't gotten too full. But even the things in the sandbox that I move, I'm getting more understanding of what they were than when I first put them in there.
Oh,
Oh,
I
that's
love
cool.
So
that.
that's a big change for me.
Yeah.
Is that
Oh, I love that.
like one little thing was a little tiny fence, and at first I saw it as something I could jump over and change, and now it is crossroads.
Mhm.
The other day it
Oh.
came up. I used it as a crossroads.
Mhm.
That
Isn't
I've come
that
to.
Cool.
So
Cool.
like those little things, they keep changing. But I haven't done
That's
exactly
really cool.
the same thing. But
Well,
I
it's
love
nice
these
we
little
can all
tiny.
try different ways.
Yeah,
too.
these
I think
little
that's
tiny pieces of
delicious.
paper
Yeah,
are so
yeah.
cute. Like these little
Yeah.
dolly papers.
Well, we can also feed each other this way.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Absolutely.
I'd like to play that way.
And
with
I'm glad
it.
we're sharing it in the class because we're really illustrating to people. You know, they think, oh, I just can't. You know, I can't get there. I can't manage this stuff. Just in my life's going over and over again, and I just can't get a grip. And
And they
look
can
how,
understand the
but
dreams
look how
you're remembering.
little it really takes by listening to what you're all talking about. These are very simple steps,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it does take time.
And we just talked about
And
it
the
this
only way
week,
you
I
get
think, or last.
time is you slow it down is how you get more time. You can't go faster because it gets smaller, but you go slower and time gets bigger, and that's where you got to go.
That is the secret.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
That's
that
the
was
secret
we
of it
watched
all.
Einstein,
Mm-hmm.
and that he actually saw time as individual.
As individual, and then then it was proven that it's true.
I thought that was awesome, and I never
Yeah.
really understood it until we saw it
Yeah.
this week. It's a new film. It's
Mhm. Mm-hmm.
called what did it?
It was
Einstein and
Einstein and Eddington.
Einstein and Eddington.
Mhm.
Oh God,
and it was
awesome.
on
HBO.
HBO. Thank you, HBO.
Sorry.
It
Of
was-
all the different ones, I'm thinking which one was it on? It was HBO.
And then we had the fun of watching, going back the other night and watching an older film that we loved on Einstein. Not
Oh.
really a documentary, but IQ.
The movie with Walter Matthau and
It's Einstein in it.
Meg Ryan.
And how they were all
Ryan
talking
and
about time.
Tim Robbins. Yeah, it's really
It
good.
was really good to see Walter Matthau. I
Yeah.
know
I
that
know
sounds
it.
crazy, but it's like we hadn't seen him in a long time.
I
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
because
He's
he's
been gone a long time.
he's
Yeah,
been
he did
gone. He's
such a
in the
good-
ethers.
He's
Yeah,
in the ethers.
It's in the ethers now.
Yeah.
Probably
Oh.
chatting with
Yeah.
Einstein.
Yeah, really.
Did I play the part? Did I do a good job?
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
love this next line though. It's like symbols unite and support.
Mhm.
And so we're finding that as we kind of activate more of the symbology individually like that, we're finding how how it threads into our lives and
Well, also,
all kinds of
also
different ways.
symbols unite in the sense that they can climb and they can reach. You know, your
Mhm,
one symbol
mhm.
can actually
Ooh.
carry the weight of another symbol,
Yeah.
and then another symbol can carry the weight of another symbol.
Oh wow.
And you know, we saw this all through childhood. You know, Yertle the turtle and all those different or the Brennan the musicians. You know, climbing.
Mhm, mhm.
And but symbols one symbol can create a foundation for you, and then another symbol is able to stand upon that symbol. And then it's interesting for you to know what your life stands on. What symbol is your foundation?
Mhm.
And in all of that, you learn much more about your totality and your higher self and your beingness. And it's not a thinker thing. It's just It's small
It's not a
things
thinker thing. I like
creating immense differences.
Mm-hmm.
Small words. And I loved it, Sandra, where you have the symbol or the piece that you put into the sandbox. The figure that it was one time this and then it became this. And it actually evolving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so your symbols and also what things your body feels like play with, that in play, you have the freedom to be one side and then the other. And I remember that my boys, they played cowboys and Indians, and we lived on the farm, and they had I had found this old wooden wagon with big wheels at the Goodwill, and they loaded each other up in the wagon, and they had so much fun up and down the farm lane. And I remember that one of the boys that got mad at John, who was the oldest, that they shot him, and he won't die. And John just keeps getting backed up. And they were so mad, and they told him that he did. He said, well, but that's because he's a whole tribe. And so he was, all the Indians. So he played one go down and the other, and it's kind of like that with symbols. That one symbol could be the whole tribe of the other. So that symbol may come up more often than the others. And it's kind of like John. He wouldn't go down and stay down.
That's so great.
I know.
Well, that's what I like too. What the whole thing, Sandra, you said with the symbol changing in the sandbox, and you think of the Egyptian. I'm just thinking of symbology and symbols. So many people think of them as objects. This is just a bunch of symbols, but they don't think of them as these living, moving, conscious things. And so, but when you think of symbols being able to be alive and change for you, then think of the Egyptian cartouches, the different symbols on all of that stonework. And so they have what it meant in their time, and you work with the translation to see what it's referencing. But then there's this whole level of looking at it now in this time, and what does that symbol mean to you in this time, not that time. Otherwise it's just an object that got stuck on the side of a building, and that's just it for all time. But no, it's always constantly talking. So what is it saying?
When you look at these beautiful big statuary that all this,
oh my gosh,
these symbols were put on in this language and conversation, you realize that not only are the symbols alive, but the icon is alive. That the symbols are really everything that's inside of it. Everything, the symbols are its content. So that when you look at the different statuaries and the different iconic images, we think they're iconic, but in actuality, they're a content of an existence. And I think I think that there are those that are starting to realize that. And so what's on all the different temples and on the walls and that they are all activators, and they all carry the content of the within.
Wow.
And that within is still alive. So
and that contributes to the initiatory
yes.
process.
And so when you bring your symbols out, you are really bringing out your content. And you're taking your content and you're putting it in front of yourself. Because a lot of times our own really most powerful content is a mystery to us. And so if you want to resolve that mystery, and today's about resolve, what you do is you allow the content to speak to you. So if you only get one or two symbols at first, take them. And then those symbols will give you more content. And they will like tattletale on the other symbols of the content that are hiding from you. So your first ones are your tattletale symbols. Some people have more and some people have less. But those first symbols are your tattletales. And also I feel like that not only are you working with your symbols in the sand play, and like Suzanne, I love, said then you will collect them and put them on a ring. And then you have them for your own storytelling. And so what they are becomes, because it isn't, it's play, but it's real.
Yeah.
So those symbols are real. They don't just come and go. They're real. You may take on more content. You may increase your volume of content. But your content of your symbols is part of you. It's part of your flesh and blood.
I had something happen the other day. That really is registering with me now as you're talking. Is that wonderful little witch that you gave me for my birthday. Suzanne gave and Robert gave me for my birthday. And she's just a little tiny thing, about 4 inches, 3 or 4 inches high. And so she's in the box. But she's got this pointy head. And she has this little wire that comes out with a little...
Oh yeah,
on the
she's
top.
really cute.
So the other morning, I'm opening my curtains.
Mm-hmm.
Well, her little head got caught in the lace of my curtains.
Oh, I
So
love
she went
it.
flying out of the box. And as you're talking, I realized that she was telling me something.
Oh
You know,
my
because it's that
God.
real.
Oh.
Well, I have to tell you something funny that goes with that.
This is great.
As you peep out of the box
Uh-huh.
that you're in, and I kept wondering what I was. This is about me, but it's about you. Is as I've been building this whole new level, and we've been moving all the furniture around, and we've had so many books that we want more available. So we've had to do strange arrangements to make more books available. And we have the funny curve in the dining room, which I'm behind. And there are more books available because of it to me and what's on the other side. And then on over, we've got the tables, and then we have them all at once. We have a bookshelf there on two of them, one on one side and one on the other. And so all at once, that bookshelf is available to anybody that sits right up on this side of the table. But on the other side, that is another whole hideaway place where I sit with the bookcase and write. And so when we came in here, we first put up, we had a table here so that, and a shelf so that books would be available that we didn't have available before, because we had books behind books behind books. So as they resonate as being top drawer, they come out. See, so the top drawer books are all out now, and there's most of them or all of them. And so anyhow, as we did the first thing, in order to get the top drawer books out, well, they were sitting on the shelf flat, but nobody could really hardly get to them except if you were sitting in Sandra's seat exactly. And because they were sitting flat, you couldn't even read them. And so, oh God, then we started bringing out other books, and they were all top drawer books. So we went ahead and got two, let's see, are these 6s or 9s? 2 9s, cubby holes, cubes, to put back to back of the top drawer books, okay?
Yeah.
And it was so fun because now you can read them, and now they're not flat, and so they're more available, at least to inquire about, and they're more available to reach to, and everything. And then, but that created kind of a barrier, because I was over here, and you could at least see me a little bit, or Sandra could, but with that, there's no sight anymore. We got this big thing, but we're both very cozy because we both love top drawer books, and we both are. And Sandra has her little place over there in her really curly up chair and her
I
little
like that
drawer
curly
thing.
up
So she
chair.
has her own little world that she already had, but now she has the top drawer books at her
Right.
fingertips.
You bet.
And then over here, I have this long couch that Robert and I built that is really cool, comfortable, and uncomfortable both. And then and it's like a little world because I have a little Christmas tree house behind me and everything. So I'm in my little world too. And then Suzanne and Christina have the big couch, and they're over there with all their little friends behind them. And they have room for Hoppy and themselves. They can even stretch out on it. And then they have little cubbies at their feet that they have all their little top drawer things. And
We
so
should accompany these things with a little video tour.
We'll
have to.
we should. But what I hadn't realized is when we did this one outer one, which comes across at the end of the other two Niners.
Yep.
And it's created this like it reminds me of, I don't know why it reminds me of that. It reminds me of that black stone in the Arabic,
Obelisks?
the Arabic black stone.
Oh, yeah. Gosh, blinked on it. I know which one you're talking about.
But it's like this
Everyone
thing in
does.
the middle that they all that's
That they
that's
go
really
around.
sacred and
Yeah.
holy and everything.
Yeah, what
And
is
it's the
that?
middle, and they all come into this big area, and this thing's all black, and it's sitting here in the middle. And I thought, God, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying to, I'm not trying not to see Sandra at all. I'm trying not to see, and so, and I thought, oh, that's really terrible. I need to look at that. So, and then a couple of days ago, I realized what it was all about.
What?
It's about right now. Look, everybody, look at Sandra right now. Look at her
She
physicality.
has to lean forward.
She has to lean into us.
Yeah.
Whereas Sandra's kind of an observer and she leans back,
You're
and then
right.
she just
Oh my
kind of
God.
watches. And I've noticed, and all at once it hit me, because I noticed that she has to lean into it, and she has to put more enthusiasm into it in order to be
And
heard.
pitch your sound forward
And
around
to
the corner.
see and to see me, she has to lean into it. So she has to lean into the work with her sound, or she doesn't get to see me. And that's what it is.
Yeah.
I completely was unaware. I just followed
Yeah.
where they go, but it had a reason, and it had a destination, and
I'll be right
in it, this has happened.
Yeah.
And I realized how important that must have been, that it actually came into the actual
Physical.
arrangement.
Yeah.
And then also it made the three of you have to lean into each other instead of leaning into us, so that it made us all more balanced as five. Because there was none of us left behind, or none of us kind of left out or sitting out, or, we were all in the same occasion. So I just, and then just now I had to say something about it because you were so forward, and I thought, it is so, I knew I was going to share it with you at some point, but it was so obvious, and it's lovely.
Yes, it is.
I
Thank you.
love watching you lean forward. I love seeing the enthusiasm somehow that this position
It is
gives.
comfortable.
And it gives fire.
Yeah.
It is a fire position. And it's different than an I lay low, I'm earth. This one is
Right.
I'm rising up, I'm fire.
That's
And
cool.
and that's what's
Yeah.
That's
happened.
Thank
So
you.
as
Yeah,
this
that's
house is
great.
arranged, it's very magical. The arrangement of this house is just totally magical.
It is
And this house is arranged out of its love for us. And in the listening to what we want and need.
Wow.
So isn't
Love
that is that
I love
That
it.
is fabulous.
fabulous?
Yes.
And I love you as more of a forward person in contributing to the class. And it's moved you, in order to be, it's moved you out of whatever shyness was back there and into,
Into the.
yes. So
That's why she flew out of the box.
so when you told me the story about her flying out of the box, I thought, oh my God, it's time to tell it, because you've got the box you've flown, you've had to fly
Right,
forward.
Yeah. She just.
Isn't that funny?
That is so
That's
perfect.
really cool.
It's really cool.
So,
That's how much love there is.
Yes.
There's love beyond reason, even. You know, and sometimes the love beyond reason is unbelievably big. And we can understand it, and it's not a cruel thing, but we are confused by it sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And thanks for I love the stories about her flying out of the box, and your pieces are starting to really talk to you. They're moving around.
It was hard to get her off of it too, kind of unhooked. But gosh.
I love that, Sandra. Thank you.
Well,
Did you love that story?
Oh yeah,
I
I
thought it
loved
was
it.
Well, thank
a
you for
little
bringing
bit
the story up
hilarious.
It is hilarious, but that's how much it takes. It took to get Sandra to lean forward.
The pitch of she.
I know.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It started with just a little pile,
Uh-huh.
and then the pile got a little more, and then the whole thing tipped up like the turtle.
Uh-huh.
That all at once that what was laying flat on its back got tipped up,
Do that.
like the little turtle tipping the big turtle up over and over, so that it actually could live.
It was so wild too, because that turtle was so small,
I know it.
and that big turtle
Small,
was on
but
its side,
moving
really
the
huge.
large.
It
And
was
it
like
just
it was,
like
yeah.
it just
and it
gave
was
it just-
thinking. It was, you could tell it was thinking as it was
Amazing.
going around, trying to see what
So the small
what they
movements
eat,
in our
small.
home
Mm-hmm.
moves our life. You know, you look like you're home and you're doing nothing, but it's these small movements that actually take in everything.
It's really true.
Yeah, and that was remarkable that small a turtle.
Yeah.
Wow.
That big guy would conquer.
So there's nothing too small that's been moved here in this house. Okay. Well, some of you understand that if you've been part of this class for years. It's new to some of you. Welcome.
Welcome, welcome.
Welcome to our world.
Yes. The everyday becomes profound.
That's right.
Truly.
Where are we on here?
We are, now we're at when intent is established, content is set and cannot be tampered with. This is the time for the set of content, and it will move with ease.
Now you realize that what we talked about, this is the next paragraph, is that she had to move forward to get intent established.
Mm-hmm.
But once she's moved forward, her content is set and she cannot be tampered with. She cannot be turned over like the turtle,
Mm-hmm.
where she can't get back up because she's established the intent to hear, to see, to be forward and be part of. So that's exactly what we were talking about.
Yeah.
This is the time for the set of content. So that's why it happened in the last few weeks, is because we are working with the set of our own content.
Mm-hmm.
And it will move with ease. Well, it did move pretty easy.
Uh-huh.
The asking, it didn't quite have enough reasons, but the asking of presence in one's life is the essential elemental for change and acquiring of information. The center reflection will cross over all resistance. Now look at that word. We've been talking about this with intention with all of us, but with Sandra as an example. The center reflection will cross over all resistance. Who just now talked about something becoming a symbol of crossing over?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Who was it?
Sandra.
Sandra.
Aren't you going to...
Yeah, the little fence. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Your little fence.
The little fence.
You're using that little fence as about in relation with crossing over. So here we are talking about, and I don't mean dying. The center of reflection will cross over all resistance.
Oh my God.
So you're
You're
using the
right.
little
told
fence to
yourself
cross
that,
over
yeah.
resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
Very good.
Is that cool?
Wow.
Yeah.
That is. That's very, very
Wow.
cool.
And if you hadn't leaned,
Oracle
We just
into
like
yourself.
expanded all that.
but if you hadn't leaned forward and shared about the little fence,
Mm-hmm.
you wouldn't have the crossover information.
Mm-hmm.
So
Thank
the goddess, the divine, has just pushed you forward in that seat. and in the most fun
Very
kinds of
thankful for
ways. But it pushed you in to be available to the crossover of resist.
Mhm.
I love that,
That's
Sandra.
fabulous.
Too.
Thank
Very
you.
good.
Thank you for that
I'm going to
story.
write that sentence.
Mhm.
It brought out
Little
everything.
1-inch piece of paper.
Yes.
Becoming what is the most complicated spell of time. Through such a shakeup of elements that the seed of the alchemy is hard to account for. The pressure of moment of gone straight down into is capable of shifting many realms of relationshipial sound. You drop down the rabbit hole,
Mm-hmm.
gone straight down into is capable of shifting many realms of relationshipial sound. When light goes into the womb to search for the seed in darkness, there is an elemental change. The full awareness of this elemental change is connected to the nervous system and its response to light from an unknown source.
Love that.
Oh, wow.
And do you all realize where we've been talking about that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
with the embryonic memory.
Embryonic memory.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I didn't even get that when I wrote it. But boy, it's sitting there like,
Mm-hmm.
when the light goes into the womb to search for the seed in darkness, there's an elemental change. The full awareness of this elemental change is connected to the nervous system and its response to light from an unknown source.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
This was a major breakthrough that
Yeah.
that we were talking about with David this week, and here it is in the piece, and I did not recognize the matchup.
That is incredible.
That is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
That and how it matches is that the light goes into the womb to search for the seed in darkness. David was he was a Caesarean,
Mm-hmm.
and he for quite a long time. Susanna was in labor, and his head couldn't pass down through, and so eventually, the light, eventually they did a C-section, which is the light that goes looking in the darkness for the child, the baby, the
Mhm.
seed, and there is an elemental change that happens in that time, and they talk about children of C-sections are different, and they have a different birth imprint than a vaginal birth imprint. And one of it is that the hormone that the mother carries in the actual birth canal, it's actually a gland, gets pressed as the baby pushes on through that canal, and it releases this hormone that sets up, helps the baby move on through, but sets up a connected relationship between the mother and child, and so that the mother will take care of that baby no matter what, because that hormone gets released into her system, and they are connected, and that is connected forever. So it's an imprintial hormonial difference, and so that happens. And if you aren't birthed that way, you don't. The mother, she loves you because she loves you, but it isn't assisted by that, and so the baby, there isn't the complete connection that in the C-section, because the child didn't come down through the canal. But what's interesting is in the womb, child has no idea what's entering the womb. It's just a light that starts coming into the womb, and there's like probably small equipment that makes sounds, and as the light starts coming into the womb, there's all these little sounds, buzzing sounds from the equipment that is associated with the light coming in the womb. And so there's an imprint that happens there. We call it embryonic, was it?
Yeah.
Memory.
Memory. And so it's a memory imprint.
Mm-hmm.
And David, I realized all at once that he has this, it becomes almost beyond reason. He has this ability to hear insects that are up above him or behind him, and he's constantly ducking and doing all kinds of things to avoid it. And he's done it for years, and we've tried all kinds of different tapping and different things to help change it, which has helped, but he still has it. And all at once, when I mentioned this to him, that maybe it's an embryonic memory, that all at once, as we kept talking, this reaction became much more accelerated, and larger. And he was looking at insects across the room and everything. And I said, it's not really to do with the insects. It's to do with that sound that they make. And that sound behind you or above you that you don't know where it's coming from, it's an unknown source. And then the light starts coming in from this unknown source. And it is an embryonic memory. And so somehow those sounds are so elemental, they sound insectoid. And so you have this, and so you've begun to have such a sensitivity that you can feel change above you and behind you and side to side. And that's not always an easy task. But Robert and I understand it because both of us had similar things happen. Robert's was a blue baby, and his mother died, and so he was taken out of the womb, and so he had a C-section. And then I was, when my mother was 6 months pregnant, there was a tumor, or that she told, or possibly a twin that died. I don't know, but she had surgery. They told her that it was only 50% chance I would live. So I was in the womb when an unknown source came into the womb, and a light. And so these are embryonic memories that later can become actually things that we actually can benefit from if we ever understand it, because it's part of what happened to us, and it had a purpose.
Wow.
It's really quite an amazing concept.
It really is. And then in this piece it says, when light goes into the womb to search for the seed in darkness, there is an elemental change. It's different. The light comes in and grabs you out of the womb than you pushing yourself out of the womb. That's kind of, it's elemental. It feels alien. It feels alien to your environment. So it's like something from another world. The full awareness of this elemental change is connected to the nervous system. I have a super sensitive nervous system. So does Robert, and so does David. And it is a gift to me. I can feel the energy easily in a lot of places. I can hear. My knowing is through sound. Robert's is through sight. And so we have these gifts, but those gifts may have been developed and introduced in utero by the way we were birthed, or the way what happened in it. So the full awareness of this element of change is connected to the nervous system and its response to life from an unknown source. So the counting of terms is positional so that the direction can be evaluated. What is now held, and that's very true too, because all at once, I've seen and worked with David doing this for years, all at once I understood it. And I never had. I never even dreamed this. And so the counting of terms is positional so that the direction can be evaluated. So all of whatever's changed, I could actually see what that was, what that direction was, and not only in him, but in myself and in Robert and what we work with as gifts and also vulnerabilities. What is now held center front is being guided by a deep thread of intelligentsia. So that's reassuring us that what is moving, like the whole world, this virus, it almost feels like an unseen source that entered our womb, our world, and it became very scary, and we never knew. We couldn't tell where it came from. We couldn't even see it. We just had to be able to take precautions to protect ourselves. Similar. Corrected is every verb, and what is now held center front is being guided by a deep thread of intelligentsia. So we are being guided through this.
Yeah.
Corrected is every verb in every sentence. So your verb is what initiates action. It's an action thing.
Sure
So,
found that out.
that is corrected. The capable becomes an awareness that can handle it all in a flow of time that creates ease. So this is also a registry on the individual scale, but I think on a planetary scale, we are going through this. It's and I don't understand every part of it, but as I'm reading this, I realize that we are going through almost like a C-section. The cats, you know, the felines are midwives to this time,
Yeah.
and maybe that's why we
Oh.
needed so much their midwifery.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
that maybe we are not being born
Vaginally.
vaginally,
Or being lifted out.
and so it's like we're not being. The vagus nerve is very, very sensitive to this energy and this
Oh, wow.
time. So we may be too sensitive for like the vagus, like vagina, to move through the vagus system and to move through the vagina system. So we are, in order for us to survive, we are being birthed through and see, you talk about laser light, laser light C-section. So it's like almost like in a laser beam, we are being lifted out of the womb. So we'll keep that in mind. And so there's a fear, and that fear may have been COVID. COVID-19 sounds very similar to Corvid and to raven. And ravens are birds that stay at the crossroads. Yeah. And so we are being birthed at the crossroads. And that's the cross is a symbol of the crossroads. But the COVID may be also the raven is the bringer of light. I'm so glad we're recording this. The raven is the bird that becomes sooty black and trying to bring light into the world. And so the raven is a light bringer. And so COVID, there's a similarity that maybe the COVID is actually a light bringer that is unknown source, that we are being birthed in a new way, and we have an unknown source, and it's a deep thread of intelligentsia, but that unknown source of light comes into the darkness in the womb. So our world is becoming darker because of the need for change and the inability to really have enough change and survive it. And so I think that's all the fear around it. I think that that its capacity is not understood, and I think that there's a lot. If you keep watching this and keep going back and forth, I think we'll understand more. Because I couldn't get over that. I kept forgetting and calling it Corvid, and it's COVID. And I thought, why are we doing this? But 19, 9 and 1 make 10. And 10 is the completion. And when we reach 10 of 10, that means that we have completed the whole the circulation is freed,
Yeah.
and that means that all your intelligentsia is free to connect, your knowing and your feeling and your recognition, and then they themselves automate all the other levels of the 10 at 10. And so the knowing and the feeling, the recognition, the can you help me with it, Robert?
Knowing, feeling, recognition, understanding,
Yes.
discernment,
Belief.
realization, actualization.
Belief was before.
Oh, belief.
Belief, then realization, actualization, manifestation, and
And is.
isness or beingness. Yeah.
So we're in a time of that coming into place, the 10 at 10.
Mm-hmm.
So that just kind of helps us understand it on another level. And I wouldn't have even understood it if we hadn't had the embryonic memory that actually carries an understanding of this time.
Yeah.
That's why all at once
When it opens
we
up,
could
then
we
the
could open it up
information
and see it, work with David and work with us.
comes forward. Yeah. Wow.
And because of this, David's a very brilliant, almost genius child who doesn't function well in the system of this world.
Mm-hmm.
That he functions in a genius kind of way of how he does and sees things, but he doesn't add it up in the same way.
Mm-mm.
So this world makes him feel inadequate.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what the 10 at 10, the consciousness of that is coming, we've been afraid it's inadequate.
Mm-hmm.
And it is more than adequate. It is what is needed to help us survive these times.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Well said.
thank
That
you.
was incredible.
Thank you. I'm so glad we recorded it because
Yeah,
I would
me
never
too.
remember.
So the capable becomes an awareness that can handle it all in a flow of time that creates ease. And see, David works from a different angle,
Yeah,
his own angle.
completely.
You know, his own individual
It creates
angle.
things that you just couldn't imagine.
Mm-hmm. The ease will follow through the whole and entire system. The full character of mode is made adequate, and the numbers are then understood. Change is starting to be umbrellaed under understanding.
Ooh, I love that.
The most physical registry is joy. The fulfilled nature of joy has no exact requirement like happiness. Joy can rise without any source. It can source itself. Joy is a current of the divine, and it holds no counsel with reason. To become filled with joy is to become filled with no reason. Reason is then placed behind joy, and life is then set into a whole new rhythm. That is huge.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's been with me all week since we
Oh.
read that
Yes.
first part last
Uh-huh.
week. I've
Yeah.
really held on to that. It's just really been with me.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
I'm so glad. Me too.
What is rhythmed into a whole new place is kept inside the forward for the ease and connectedness of speed. Place is then supported in its acquisition. All the nature of response is moved into a more understood place of symbol. To match symbol to symbol is to unite the fires of understanding.
That's what we talked about.
Mhm,
For symbols
earlier.
and that.
Yeah.
I love that.
So you have the present symbol and the past symbols, and you unite them, and you get to understanding the twice told.
Wow.
Alchemy of alchemy is a fractal intention of creation, the centermost relevance being held within the willingness to count. The letters of the number and the number of the letters all stack up in the question. When the twice told creases a fold, the sort is completed and the next is set into place for order and ease. What now solidifies the new equation is need, and it is acquired through the registry that this time creates. The abstract needle of precision threads through, and we are more attached to our destinational need. There is much gained in this, and we can prepare for a smooth landing as the twice told prepares the runway. We remember all the other times of settle and its gentle occurrences and requirements. To fold the measured map of distance, the square is unfolded with all its parts of allowance. We require 15 pages before, and the rest comes on through because of the 1 and the 5. All words are centered as they should be for the center to rise, each word chosen for its effect. The time is more silent in cause, but more focused in mark. The whole being more graduated than ever thought. Realization rides the realm, and the parenting of void begins its adoption.
Oh, that is awesome.
Whoa.
Paragraph.
It is. All words are centered as they should be for the center to rise. Each word chosen for its effect. The time is more silent in cause, but more focused in mark. The whole being more graduated than ever thought. Realization rides the realm, and the parenting of void begins its adoption.
Isn't that
I
beautiful?
love that.
Uh-huh. All is placed into the truth of realization, and there is no reason not to assist as protect. Protect.
As
True.
protect.
Okay. All is placed into truth of realization, and there is no reason not to assist as protect. If the realm cannot
For
reach,
assistance, there's no reason not to assist as a protection.
yeah,
Protect.
if
So
realm,
those who feel that they must not assist us, protect us because we must not have assistance, they are not conscious enough. So look for another.
If the realm cannot reach down and pull up, and the realms of above cannot reach down to lift up the below, because their distance is limited. Lift up, console, reason to is part and part for all. This is what keeps all worlds in the sky. To be cause is to lift, assist, need, reach, and convey guidance when had. The acceptance of help, need, and promise is what all is that is held in space, ether. And that's where we stopped last Friday. So here's the new part of this. The
So
sacred.
in this consciousness on this planet, there are people that are ready, and there are people that aren't ready. That does not define who to help.
Yeah.
The higher the consciousness, the more ability they have to lift up those that aren't ready.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to reach
To
back.
have the strength. It's like somebody is drowning,
Mm-hmm.
and if they're drowning, you know if you go to help them, they don't know any longer what's going on, and they will fight you.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a good enough swimmer, you will know what to do to help them.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not a good enough swimmer, you won't.
Yeah.
But there always are the swimmers that know how to help the
That is a,
drowning.
great example.
Mm-hmm.
And it has nothing to do with their deserving. It is the conveyance of consciousness and its expansion that is being expanded.
Yeah.
The being that is helping is being expanded as much as the being they are helping.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what that line in, I can't remember it exactly, but in Wonder Woman, that first one, the new version of it, they're saying, but humanity, the gods are saying, why are you even bothering helping them? They don't deserve it. Look at all the horrible things they've done, and humanity, man's, atrocities and everything. And she said, it's not about whether they deserve it or not. It's about who I am, the love that I am.
That's exactly.
And
It's the most powerful part of the whole movie.
I think so.
I think so too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is true. It's this time, and who can help. It's not about us, it's about them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about us to a certain extent, but it is equally it is not about us than it is about them. And so what conveys that it shouldn't help, or we're not worthy of helping, or we have more to learn, that is really them hiding their lack of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. The sacred unfolds us enough that we move to release what has been held for eons upon eons.
Yeah.
The we of all is now unfolding in the way needed and unfolded as needed. The sponsorial advantage allows more room for the changes that are now needed. The upper levels included in all the shifting pulses of what has been given for now. This will create ease needed for this shift. The most conial is forwarded for the need. Inside the empirical is a new formation of balance. The imposition is not allowed a surface to land upon, and the greatest invocation is made with love and compassion.
I love that inside the empirical is a new formation of balance.
Mm-hmm. That is powerful.
The most empirical are being made to move into a new formation of balance.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's like that flip with.
It's not us out smoking them. It's them no longer smoking.
Yeah, it's like the shift with from Newton's empirical view to Einstein's empirical view.
Oh my God!
The formation so empiricalism was still there, but it had to change because the inside of it got changed by the registries of difference that were made. Love and compassion is really the registry and recognition of the individual is what Einstein did.
And it's not whether one man was right or one man was wrong. It's whether one man was and what the other man was.
Is alchemical
because the
process.
persona of Newton and the persona of Einstein is not the same at all. There's a lot of difference, and that difference also created the different equations.
You also have to realize, I was just realizing too, that in corrugating, as you've mentioned, there is a sequence. And Newton had a sequence for that time. That was the part of that time of what could move, and that was what was in sequence for that time. And then Einstein came and had the next level in the sequence of a realization or level, and now we're realizing that there's more beyond what Einstein could see at that point. But
Because
there
the
was
world
a
changes.
sequence in the corrugation that had to come, and like you said, neither one were really wrong or right. It was the timing of what could be received in that moment.
And their persona matched
Exactly.
the timing, and because Newton was very much different than Einstein.
Yeah.
And so he was much more regimented inside of that, and whereas Einstein was much less regimented.
I
And
saw
so
that,
Newton matched the time that he was living in, and he still was a way shower and a shaker.
I am just really seeing that and taking that in, because people have spent, especially in academia, they spend so much time bashing other people, or disproving or saying how awful they were or how wrong they were and how whatever, instead of recognizing
They were the best they could do in that
in
time.
that moment, and honoring that, and just, it's the small that large builds upon. It's like each one had
But what
its
was
place.
funny is Newton was an alchemist. Einstein didn't figure himself as an alchemist. Newton was an alchemist, and an alchemist works with ether.
Yes.
Einstein,
Oh,
as a
that's right.
scientist, he didn't work with ether. Einstein was ether.
It's so funny how
And
much
didn't
he
realize
didn't believe in an ether, but there he was being ether.
Those little beady eyes
And you
looked
think,
just like a
and
raven.
you think, how is that even possible that he can register that? But remember, it's just last night I pointed out that thing that some mysterious man in Turkey joined a search, and they were searching to find him. So it's like, how's that even possible? So you never, these little mysteries that happen are like amazing.
So funny.
How did that even occur?
Well, the whole thing, I was thinking as you were talking, is when Eddington came in and proved that Einstein was right. Because Einstein wasn't sure yet. But
Yeah, he was just a theorist.
he's theorist. So now that he proved that, then he could go on
Could build. Isn't
to
that
build
amazing?
and build more
Yeah,
theories
yeah.
and stuff because he knew he was. And that's all Eddington wanted to do was to
And
prove that.
He
Eddington
knew that was his part. Yeah.
Well, Eddington was was a hearer.
Mhm.
He was a listener and a hearer. He was a Quaker.
Mm-hmm.
So Eddington could hear, he could make room for the voice of the divine, and only from that voice could he move to prove theory.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That was so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
No.
Can't believe you saw that.
The sacred holds all within its letters of meaning. The formational is given room, and the full position of light is regarded with more acceptance as all settles into a new balance, and the full space of support is given to all. The inner position of life recalculates its resources and moves to the center of reason for a full adjustment of life living. The threads of encountered all become realized, and awareness shifts, and the full disclosure of need is found acceptable.
I love that word says the threads of encountered.
Mm-hmm.
That is a state of, that's a beingness. The threads of encountered.
I love
Those
that.
are different than the threads of unencountered.
Mm-hmm. The threads of encountered all become realized, and awareness shifts, and the full disclosure of need is found acceptable.
It's like maybe
I love
red
that.
threads are the threads of encountered, and then
Mhm.
yellow threads are another kind of thing. That
Yeah.
the color and the thread shift.
I love that.
Mhm.
Inside the sound of each invisible cell is the interlacing muscle of desire for life to live.
Wow, I love that.
So the sound of each invisible cell is the interlacial muscle.
Interlacing muscle
Yeah.
of desire. And I never saw that the sound inside of each cell, which is invisible to us often, has a muscle, an interlacing muscle.
Mm-hmm.
That the cell itself has an interlacing muscle of desire for life,
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
to live.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that
That's
I never
awesome.
saw the cell that way.
Yeah.
But what else could it be?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That is incredible. The counted form embodies the opposing force, and now this occupation of the counter force is being recalculated and reinterpreted. The full accordioned effect reaches into the distance, and the center is confided into the meaning. When one is carried by the effort of love, miracled into its own existence, there is a whole new pattern registry.
So read that again. The
Yeah,
full
wow.
accordion effect.
The full accordioned effect reaches into the distance, and the center is confided into the meaning. When one is carried by the effort of love, miracled into its own existence, there's a whole new pattern registry.
So I'm seeing here that the corrugation
Mm-hmm.
of the distance,
Mm-hmm.
that is what miracle is.
Yeah.
Something is a miracle, it is a corrugation. If something is miracled, it is corrugated into.
Yeah.
If we don't wait long enough for the corrugation, we don't have the miracle.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the miracle is always associated with the divine, because people surrender to the divine. When they surrender to the divine, they're surrendering to the miracle. They're surrendering to the time it takes for the corrugation. So when they give it to God or give it to the divine, or any part of life, it's a way of saying, I will allow time for the corrugation.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what creates the miracle.
Yeah.
Yep.
Miracles or corrugations that have been waited
I
for.
love that.
Yeah. Whoa.
Wow.
Wow. That's one to really remember.
Uh-huh.
And that creates, that
That
corrugation, actually, it's miracled into its own existence, because that's the miracle is the waiting for the corrugation.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole new pattern registry that happens.
Thank you.
So the counted form embodies the opposing force. So you're thinking of something accordioned?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The imposing forces are, here's an accordion, actually the musical instrument. Here's an accordion.
Mm-hmm.
The opposing forces are pushing from the
Ooh.
past and the future, which are
Oh.
both distances, and they're moving into the middle, because that's what the corrugation does. Once it reaches the full middle
Then it's here now.
compression, then it's everything's all right
And
there.
the center is confided into the meaning then.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this is really what a relationship with the divine is about.
Mm-hmm.
And a relationship with God or any other being that's afforded that kind of meaning. That it's a counted form embodies the opposing force, and now this occupation of the counted force is being recalculated, re-entered. Exactly what you talked about, the two sides of the accordion coming towards each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then the full accordion effect reaches into the distance, and the center is confided into the meaning, so it comes all the way into the center,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where the miracle happens.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't wait for the corrugation, you don't have the miracle.
Uh-huh.
So that's why we're constantly told to turn it over
Right.
to God or to the divine,
Mm-hmm.
or let go of it. That's all so that the miracle can happen.
Mm-hmm. The folded pattern of awareness is now reaching into the reality of this time. All the currents shift, and a true momentum is met with joy, and there is no explanation needed. The full character of word is emulated forward into the known, and calculations shift.
And that's the beauty of it. See, when it's a miracle, it's something you can't explain.
Oh.
There is no reason that's needed for it. It's like go off. So what happens is joy, because joy doesn't have any explanation.
Mm-hmm.
So happiness won't fit there, only joy will.
Yeah.
Yeah. The meaning of the 42 is realized.
The joy is that you don't know how it happened,
Mm-hmm.
and the happiness is that you know all the parts of how it happened, and then you're certainly afraid that if one thing drops out, you won't be happy again.
Wow.
Too much knowledge.
Yeah. The meaning of 42 is realized, and the volume is in the count. When all is turned over, the full integrity is made integral to the moment. We are, and we are, and we are, all as one figure in time. The first is first, and the first is all. Part of is part of what all is part of.
Okay,
Oh, part of is part of what all is part of. I
okay,
love
so
that.
put
I
a
love
comma
that.
after part of.
Part. Let me get okay right here. Part of is
Part of, comma,
comma
is part
is
of,
part of
comma,
comma
what all is part of.
of what all is part of. As the time provocates, all is accommodated with
That's
its
like
choices.
it provokes.
Yeah.
Is that the right word?
Yeah, that's good. As time provocates, all is
Is
accommodated.
is it an A there or an O?
I think that's right. I think it's just a new word.
PROVOCATES, isn't it? I would say. Maybe it's provocates.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe an A.
Like
Yes,
provoke,
an A.
so it's two O's. Yeah.
I think that's
To
it.
provoke, it's got P. That's right. The O belongs there.
Okay. All is accommodated with its choices. All is marked and braided into a fibrous registry, and this will flatten to embed all into the weave. A weave that will support the next 1,000 years
Wow.
and unweave the last 1,000 years.
That's what I was
Oh my
saying. That is
God.
such
That
an
was
omen.
huge.
Yeah.
That's a
That
big
is.
omen.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's where that's prophecy.
Yeah.
I wish we could somehow, put a box around places like that.
Mhm.
Well,
Well,
Do what?
where?
around
which
that
part?
paragraph.
The whole
just
paragraph?
That that's a
Well,
prophecy.
you can do this. Let's see. Hold on a second. That and
Okay,
You
that's
can
good.
do that if you want.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Just so we
Cool.
can find
I like
it.
that.
Okay.
I want to do that more at a really,
Yes,
in fact,
yeah.
really important places.
Okay. All is balanced by the allowing nature of all that comes into grace. The profound is more profound than ever before, and this is joy. To take into the sound of the period to come a joy of what is,
Of what is.
huh?
Joy of.
A joy of what is, and the profound writes the way clear and absolved of polarity, a place of home.
Something I have to fix there.
Yeah, let's see. To take
To
into
take
the
into
sound of the
of the
period
period.
is to come. No, it's a period. Oh, to take into sound of the period to come. A joy of what is.
To become a joy of what is.
To become.
Yeah.
A joy of what is.
To become a joy of what is,
Okay.
and the profound writes the way clear and absolves of polarity a place of home. Okay.
So it's a way clear that's
It's
absolved of polarity. And yeah, it says there absolved of polarity,
Uh-huh.
a place
Place
of
of
home.
home. The sacred motivation, longing, moves to the front, and the companion of joy is spaced and
Okay,
given
after
to.
longing, let's put a comma.
Okay. Sacred motivation,
Hmm.
longing.
Move.
The sacred motivation of longing.
Yeah, that's good.
Of longing moves to the front, comma, and the companion of joy is spaced and given to by time.
Yeah.
The profound will is given its power, and the separated becomes aware of what truly occupies. When the sacred steps into the imprint of time, the volume shifts, and what is too tight loosens.
Oh, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So Solomon.
I know. In this, the volume changes, and what is laid down is picked up. When the turn becomes bent enough to see its own tail,
I love this.
the narrow will widen with the ease of acceptance. All comes forward with a new naming. What calls to the most naked of things will now be heard.
I saw that so much too as the Kundalini, that when the turn becomes bent enough to see its own tail.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you do the curve of the circle and the snake eating its own tail, there's a point that at one point in the curve that widens, that all at once it can see its tail,
Yeah.
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 and then the ease can come
Mm-hmm.
because it knows where it's going.
All comes forward with a new naming. What calls to the most naked of things will now be heard. All will be safe, and the comfort will increase. The portal of distance is activated, and the position is moved on through with ease and clarity. When the tendency is no longer caught before it completes, there will be much more foundation felt and seen. The total endurance is given deep space, and the constancy is set into place. When all opens, there will be a thread that changes all the colors of the alchemy, and the emblic egg is safe, and the space is cleared of its own need.
No, clear
Is
in its own need.
In its own need. Cleared in its own need, sorry. The full safety made real is accompanied by the desire as it reaches to clear the absence of creation.
I guess it would be better to put
Companion.
accompanied instead of accompanied.
Okay.
Companioned is really what I think I was meant to say.
Companioned.
So how would you do companioned?
Companioned.
IONED.
IONED. Companioned by the full safety made real is companioned by the desire, comma, as it reaches to clear the absence of creation, and the life is made real. The topic of discernment closes in on the resolve. The word is made and the angle is free. To take the procession into new numbers is to change the letters of everything, so time can turn its clock back and opinion shifts.
Now that's talking about the procession
Whoops.
of the planets.
Wrong place.
that it's going to be changed into new numbers.
Mm-hmm.
To take the procession into new numbers is to change the letters of everything, so time can turn its clock back, and opinion shifts.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
The opinion of everything shifts out.
I like
Yeah.
that. Thank you,
We're getting ready
sweetie.
to turn the clock back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why we got to
It's in
finish this
November.
book, because
Yeah.
when we get the book placed onto the site, that is
With an
part of that
activation.
action of
Yeah.
time. So we do have a time when we want to finish that. So Robert this weekend is going to finish the last third of the book, getting it
Scanned.
scanned,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll start putting it together.
The sacred fold in this is creased, and the motion settles to the floor for conversation.
I love that.
Uh-huh.
The motion settles to the floor. I love how live everything is, and animated it is,
It's
and
really
its intelligentsia moves it.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
really alive.
Mm-hmm.
The pinpointed nature is revealed, so all is inside
So
itself.
it's like the sacred fold in this is creased, and the motion settles to the floor. It's like if we did something, and then we settled down on the floor. It's as if the sacred fold has that ability to crease, and then the motion has the intelligentsia to settle to the floor for conversation.
Mm-hmm.
If it had no intelligentsia, then there wouldn't be any conversation. So there's an intelligentsia involved that is capable of conversation. That intelligentsia is the motion set. The motion itself has intelligentsia, and in fact, in the fibers of listening, there's a whole big area that is a whole chapter that is just motion and its intelligentsia.
Oh, God, yeah. The pinpointed nature is revealed, so all is inside itself as the world nests into its flight. The nesting code known and revealed for its balance. Sit into this seat of wisdom. Sophia did, and she was much endowed with love. The time has come for beauty to succeed, and the resonant to be heard from every planet, galaxy, and solar system. The timing is not off, it is exact and on the precise mark. There is generosity in observation so deep that assistance has occurred. The planetary field is opened to itself, and the counterparts are realized and turned over and over until they know what part is. The familiar guest is given room to be invited and turned in to participate.
That's
I
really
like
a
that.
cool way of working with observation.
Uh-huh.
Is that observation? There's observation where you're just watching. You're just kind of collecting data, and you're watching, and you're not part of it. Then there's observation that is calculating, and it's doing more than that, and it even moves itself in to be in there to assist
Mm-hmm.
because it has observed the need. Whereas there's other observation that we can get trapped in, where we get used to not observing to see the need, but actually just observing.
And not doing
And that's the one observation that is done so much in this world, but that we need to make sure that we align ourselves with the observation that makes available to assist.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like talking about beings from other planets and other worlds that are observing us.
Mm-hmm.
If their observation is to observe, to see so deeply that they can assist us, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
But
If they're just observing us for information, but not that at all, then they're not really observing to help. They're observing to collect data, to actually give information for what they need.
Mm-hmm.
Those are two different
Yeah.
kind of observers. And I think both could be here at this time as long as they're not observing to see how they can get in our way.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And or we're not their entertainment. We're not
Yeah.
living here for another world's entertainment.
Yeah.
We're not really
That's
living
great.
here for anybody's entertainment that doesn't include us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mhm.
I wanted to speak on that.
It
I
feels like
that.
there's something. The difference too is when you observe with cause, as cause. When you realize that you're a being that is observing because you are cause, and you're observing to see where you can be cause, where you
Oh,
can help, where you can assist, where you are needed in the process of whatever you're observing.
or you can expand or give too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Instead of just sitting back with your arms folded and just like in a space of observing from
Critiquing.
judgment, of creating opinions or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So then you're not really participating or being cause of anything.
Mm-hmm.
You're not being an observer with meaning, you know.
Oh, that's beautifully said.
Yeah,
I
your
really just
causal
saw that.
intention, if it's not
Yeah,
compassionate, loving
Right.
kindness for
yeah. Then it's going
fellow
to be
human beings,
intrusionary
yeah.
and not helpful. And
mm-hmm.
yeah,
Oh.
wow, I never saw that till now.
I didn't either, but that was perfect. Thank you,
Thank you.
Suzanne.
All the longings of time have now emerged to be felt as
Or
received.
did we finish that
Oh.
paragraph?
But I'll read it again.
Okay.
There is generosity in observation so deep that assistance has occurred. The planetary field is open to itself, and the counterparts are realized and turned over and over until they know what part is.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
The familiar guest is given room to be invited and turned in to participate.
Right. There's the
Yeah, that's-
participant. Yeah.
All the longings of time have now emerged to be felt as received, and the gracefulness has come here to live. The proper perspective has spun into place, and the gesture has been given and received. Plan upon plan has only endured if it contains love and acceptance. The judgorial field is relieved of its grip, and the assistance is given in love, respect, and collaboration. Many fields of awareness are opened, and the full tolerance of speed is given room and knowledge. In coming into time, the full spectrum is opened for tonal changes and cooperation.
Wow.
The speed of this time is accelerating, and the compass of time is balanced and equated exactly. All in all, the trinary code is fully empowered as promised.
Yay.
The excellence of regard has been given, and given again and again, because that is what the speed of love is. Doors have been opened that have been forever closed and never will be again. We have closed the door open, and this is the power of infinity watching. The power of lead is in the alchemical reclamation.
Is the alchemical.
The
I'm
power
sorry.
of lead is the alchemical, and this is LED. The power of lead is the alchemical reclamation of the gold in being led, not leading or letting. The forever posture is given room and not interrogated for its constitution. As all allows the gesture to be made.
That's really a cool one about the alchemy.
Yeah.
That
Wow.
the gold is in being led.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
LED,
Yeah.
not leading.
Mm-hmm.
And the forever posture is given room
and
not interrogated for its constitution.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
My gosh.
So your personal goal is in being willing to be led by the infinite power. The forever posture is given room and not interrogated of it for its constitution. As all allows the gesture to be made, the signal reaches its source, and the content is revealed throughout. The measure of quickening is registered and accounted for in its content. The passage made more circular is the gift, and the round sound of listening is established through all worlds and realms. The instinctual courage is recognized, and the full 10 of 10 is currented through.
And that's the whole thing of doing the round sound recording right now.
Mm-hmm.
And putting it within the limniscut, the 8, the infinity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Or
the
putting it into a symbol.
so instinctual courage is recognized, and the full 10 of 10 is currented through. The force field of agreement is established, and the unincluded are included. Established is the word of constant, and the whole is married to the part being the partial, and the partial being the ingredients of the whole in its entirety.
I love that.
The counsel of forbidden is released of its time, and the property it had owned given to each soul. The quickened force relays freely, and the undertaken is forgiven of its need. Closure. The beginning closed the ending, and what was between was the intent. Mature the intent, and you grace the soul with content.
Oh,
Wow.
I love that.
That's beautiful.
Isn't that beautiful?
Mm-hmm.
Robert, can you pull the page down just a little bit? I just need that one more. I guess one more.
I was just teasing.
Where you go? Okay, there you go. You're being silly. Thank you.
You're welcome. Wow, thank you, sweetheart. This
No,
is
it's good.
something.
I know, I forgot
There's a
to
lot
say
in
my
there.
name.
This is a
Huh?
lot.
There's a lot in here.
You,
Yes,
and you what?
Totally.
what
I
about
forgot
the
to
Inside.
kind of look for the name.
name?
So, I was sitting here for a minute.
Oh, sure.
Um, okay, what's in? Can I see the closure again?
Mm-hmm. The beginning closed the ending, and what was between was the intent. Mature the intent, and you grace the soul with content.
That's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go back to the beginning. We'll put a new
Oh.
title.
All the way to the beginning, okay?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I think it is mature the intent.
Maturing the intent.
Mature the intent.
Cool.
Because that is what we're doing.
Yes. I
We
love
are
that.
taking intent into a whole new maturity. And in itself and in perception. Wow.
I love
That's
that.
awesome.
Boy, that was.
Perfect.
I hope you all love this like we
Oh.
did.
Boy,
Oh my gosh.
Yes, everyone, thank you for listening.
Yeah. And I realize how awesome it is. The pieces as they come in their own exact way is
We
awesome.
had to mature
Mhm.
into this piece,
Mhm.
you know?
And that's what happens with the unpacking.
Yeah.
Is the piece is written and it's true content, and then the unpacking is pretty much the time between it's written and the class itself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's and we do it every week, so we mature things from week to week. So this is all about how that maturity happens and how it has to move through the intent. So I think that's it's really cool because it's a livingness. It's not like we read this and then we'll read the next one in the next 2 months.
Yeah.
It's really for the immediacy of time. So this is the content of the intent of this next week. But then once it's really intended in time, it becomes all time. And so that's when the books are put in these larger books, and they are about all time. So whatever time you pick them up, they are that time for you. Isn't that awesome?
That is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That
So
is a
cool.
miracle. And the miracle is because the books are corrugated. And
Yeah.
the time is corrugated with venom. So in the corrugation, that's where miracle happens. Because see, every miracle has hundreds of corrugations. We just don't see them. We just see it as, oh my God. But the miracle happens when we allow the corrugation to start happening.
Mm-hmm.
When we actually give it time, or it takes time. Sometimes miracle happens over years, and it happens as quickly as we can allow the corrugation to move. And the faster we are about allowing the corrugation to move, the more miracles we have in our life.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's well said.
So I love this. This is something that I understood in a lot of different ways, but didn't know how to talk about it. And boy, that is such a gift.
Mm-hmm.
What a gift indeed.
And so this is a miracle in how to talk about this. And I have waited quite a while for that and allowed that corrugation to come because I want it to be alive, animated, alive, and integratable. Yeah.
Well, that sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a miracle
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
something to
that
do
is a
that.
miracle.
What'd you say, honey?
The silence sealed the room,
Oh,
and the utter brilliance of light timed itself for the now potency. So that's what you're saying. You did that. That's what. No.
you're exactly right.
Yeah.
I just let
This
it
is
be
the-
silent.
This is a new potency. The now potency.
Wow, Sandra,
now?
thank you.
Opening of a new door
That was wonderful.
Yeah.
that hasn't been open.
Right.
Well, this is going to be a really cool
It's
week.
a good
Wow.
week.
We have lots of
That's for
things
sure.
that we're bringing together this week,
Mm-hmm.
and we are being given dreams to live on that are not live on like fantasies, but they're living on like fact. I just love that. Yeah,
Me too. Thank you for the gift of this book.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're
It's
welcome.
Wow, it's gonna keep on giving. I'll tell you, because there's.
Now, Christina, before we close, wants to read a page that she found that really she used that really set just things right in place. So it's from the. You want to tell them?
Sure, it's from the Traveler series, and it's the one that's called An Alchemical Journey.
Now
the first
you
one.
read it. Was
The
this
first
part
one.
what brought you to read that?
Well, we have this by our bedside table, and then I intuitively just open up a part of the book, and then I usually
Is that part of
read
your practice?
the pages.
You do it often then.
Hmm.
Okay, very cool.
And having it by the bedside is really nice, because then after drawing our dreams and writing our love poems, and it's right there, and so it's all
Well,
available within reach.
I love that intensity because I know you have it on as an ebook, and we have a copy of the book here downstairs. But you want it at your bedside
We
at
do.
all
Mhm.
times,
Yeah, we do.
Mhm.
and that intensity of that desire of that in your practice is impressive.
Thank you.
And that brought you to actually purchase the book
Mhm.
to sit on your bedstand, even though, you don't get a big discount. None of us do with our own books, and we make on a book at the most we make. I mean, we make $5. No more books cost about the, and so this
Blows
book
my
that
mind.
costs maybe $50, we make $5. But you spent it anyway.
It's,
And
Mm-hmm.
it's our companion.
yeah, it's a companion.
It really is.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Okay, so the actual, so this is from one of the books that you wrote called The Call of the Wilderness. And this is on page 99 of the book. We are now unchainable, unslavable, forbidden to the power that drains. We are now forbidden frigidity, undrainable cause, unslavable skin.
Oh God.
Yeah,
Mm.
this is
Yeah.
Well,
just so you know, for those listening, this is some brave territory here.
Yes, and this
Mhm.
book was which one? The number of them?
This
It's
is
the
the first one, the
of the
first Traveler
Traveler
Oh, the
series.
Travelers.
Mhm.
Wow. Okay.
There is a new vibratory closure that will close the door behind us as we walk through the patterns of home.
Oh my God.
We are bound only to ourselves, and there is no measure of what we feel, know, eat, or become. We are unleashed, and the power we hold is fey. We are one with the tree, flower, plant, and tree, time, and ment, MEANT. To volume across the abyss is to return home to ourselves. The stargate we each are is the portal of our own light body. It is within us. No other can involve our light pattern like we can.
Wow.
We can take up speed without the race.
Without what?
Without the race.
Mm-hmm.
We can take up brilliancy without the comparison. We take up potency without the discussion. We are traded from content no more. We are trained no longer with an agenda that is not completely Fae. We are the people of Gaia, the original seed. She now reclaims us and marks us for her Fae. The Mother calls us out and demands our freedom. Her world is made for joy, not counting. Her world is made for beauty, not corporate stealing. Her world is made for expression, creativity, love, not war, imprisonment, owning greed, slavery. The so-called elite of other worlds are not elite. They were the cast-offs of what could not get power from them. They are so deeply imprinted with this that their intention to never return outweighs all life, all needs, all measurement, all beauty in their minds. Love is not a consciousness for them because they are so deeply imprinted that it does not exist for them. They are so deeply imprinted with this that their intention to never return outweighs all life. It was a double one. Outweighs all life, all needs, all measurement, all beauty in their minds. They are the power betrayed.
Wait, there's a paragraph here. It's love is not a consciousness for them.
Yeah, it's repeated. Love is not a consciousness for them because they are so deeply imprinted that it does not exist for them.
Okay.
They are the power betrayed. The Mother has not come to raise them up, but to raise up and free her Fae. Without this, the power betrayal never has a chance of change. We rise from her call, and we do not look toward them, but towards ourselves and all we are. The stronghold of power is now being pushed up by the Mother to be the new force field of power, Fae wielded as a sword of flowers that poses as steel and cuts through like infinity. That's funny because you talked about the power of infinity in this
Yes.
piece here today. The markers of old now line up in precision, and the sound of Michael pierces through the written world, gentled into a thread of steel that forces the grid to enlighten the mind of all Fae. The call is futured like the future king of old time, halting all resistance. Portaled is the memory into this world once again, and the flesh of Fae is once again upon the bone. Place and comfort once again leafs, Leafs, leafs into our world, and the starving are fed by the way, Whey, of Fae. Cultured is not the destination, heart is the destination. Heart is Fae, echoed into our time, and the words run fast into the code, and the one word is spoken to the fold. It was just, there was so much in this.
Wow.
Just about, I just feel like it's really beautiful of just that love is not a consciousness. Like, there's so much potency in all of what you're trying to express here, and I was just really moved by the clarity of what we are, what we really are, and that Gaia. It just felt really empowering about how the Mother calls out and demands our freedom. She's fighting for us as much as we're fighting for her.
Yeah.
And her world is made for joy, not for counting. And Evie talked about joy in this piece as well.
Well, if you look at how beautiful she is,
I know.
you know, who ever thought
yeah.
it was made for anything else?
Yeah.
I mean, every insect, all the every flower and plant. There are things that are so gorgeous.
Yeah.
We've never even seen them. They're just, and they're
Oh,
there
yeah.
just for joy. They have no reason
Mhm.
in that sense.
It just felt really empowering reading this page.
I like your next paragraph here, also.
Oh, the one on the other page.
No, it is whispered into the
yeah.
bend.
Mhm.
Backwards is not the space, but forward is the run. Maka shouts out her tree of elm, and she runs her twins back to life. The first pen writes down the language of memory that wakes up the cold so Faye is seen once again. The sacred breath enfolds the womb of language, and the word breathes in your skin. I almost, this reminds me of what we're coming to with winding back time.
Winding back the
Oh,
clock.
yeah.
Winding back the clock.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the twins and that what she is doing, she in the story of Maka, she's forced to do this race and she's completely full term pregnant, and she wins the race racing horses because her husband bragged of her speed to the king, and he demanded that she show him, and she right there she won the race, and then she fell down and she delivered her twins, and then she cursed it was either Ireland or Scotland them that in battle, that all the males in battle would experience the pains of labor and birth.
Wow.
And that's it's an old Celtic story, and but here it talks about her winding it backwards, and that everything comes back to life, because in that I think she died and the twins, but I know that so time winds back, and that's taking that out. That fall is being taken out. So I thought that was really cool. That led up to
Is
that.
really cool.
Oh, wow!
I'm
Thank
really
you.
out
honey.
from reading the other book,
I know.
and then I'm really out reading this page. Sorry, but there's so much to share about this page. But I just felt like during a time where we're there's so much to hear, so much chatter, and so much murky waters,
Yeah,
and
opposing
kind of
narratives.
warring
Yes. Oh
kind
God!
of
Constant.
language. That this was a language that was like, we just
So
we don't
nurturing.
really have time for all this kind of stuff, but we do have time for love and joy, and we do have time for what we really are. And she's telling us, the
Getting
mother is like, here's
unenslaved,
what we
yeah.
are. It's not so much about, who's doing stuff to us in this planet, and that we're the minority group, and we're just this big victimized thing of circumstance. It's very empowering that she's fighting for our freedom,
Mm-hmm.
and we're in this. We are united with that concept with
I love
her
that.
too. So anyway.
So
yeah,
no, it's so great to have
really
it
good.
brought more forward
Yeah.
to hear. I think that's very comforting to
And
me.
I love that, we are one with the tree, the flower, and the plant. I mean, and time.
That's right.
I mean, we could break down this whole page for a whole nother few hours.
Oh.
But anyway, we are the people of Gaia, the original seed. That cannot be denied. I mean, that's what,
Mm-hmm.
that is powerful. She now reclaims us and marks us for her fae. Is that not beautiful?
Uh huh. That is.
And
that's-
I
Wonderful.
think that it's just so potent. So thank you
oh, thank you for bringing
this
it
book,
out. And the picture with it is quite awesome
it
for that.
And that picture you have described as an alchemical process.
Oh,
There's
you're right.
4 steps in this picture that you have described. This is one of the pictures that would be really cool if someday we could record you talking about this one particular
Collage.
Collage.
the way that you have, because I never look at it the same way.
Oh, that's lovely.
Once you shared that part, it really opened up a lot.
Thank you. Made me remember that again too. Wow. I
Wow.
love that.
So thank you.
Wonderful
you.
class
And that's
again.
another neat
What else?
thing about these traveler books
Mhm.
is that they're so big
Mhm.
that pictures you didn't step
yeah.
out to you as much really step out in this traveler series.
Yeah.
These are the most corrugated books I have ever opened
Oh,
and read.
I could see where you'd say that.
I
I
mean,
feel
it's
that.
like you said,
Yes.
it's like a whole
No, I'm
year
gonna send it out.
in one, and then each word and each paragraph is corrugated, and then each book inside of it is corrugated, and then the book itself is corrugated. So I mean, it's a livingness. It is alive. So
Yeah, it is Sophic
And it-
Intelligentsia.
yeah.
Mhm.
That is
Yeah.
what's specific about Sophic Intelligentsia is that it is corrugational and it is corrugated. And if you want to know whether something is part of that, you'll know when you see whether it's corrugated or not.
Thank you
Well,
Aw.
so much.
thank you for a
You're
wonderful
welcome.
class, everyone. Thank you,
Thank
Suzanne,
you.
for this writing. We
Thank
appreciate
you,
it.
and I hope that all of you are doing well,
Mm-hmm.
and we miss seeing you all.
Mhm.
But it's really, we're in a new time, and I think you all are being very brave and doing very many wondrous things. And I think that this is the time that actually nurtures that.
Mm-hmm.
And we hope that you all continue to be yourselves.
Yeah.
Love
Thank you,
all.
and we will see you next Friday, October 8th.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll be fun.
Okay.
That's 2 days before Andrea's birthday.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay.
you so much, Suzanne.
Yeah,
What
thank
a
you for
great
all
class.
of this.
Thank
You're
you,
welcome.
Rhonda.
Yeah,
You're
you're
welcome.
welcome. Thank you, guys. Okay, see you next week. Bye.